Good morning. I'm Livia DeFilippis Barndollar. I'm the past president of the Connecticut Bar Association and the creator of a committee known as the Fair and Impartial Judiciary Committee. Members of the committee are part of a monthly video series that the CBA has launched for its 150th anniversary. The series, called Legally Brief, will feature short and engaging settlements on timely and important topics for both members and the public. Today we're going to talk about individuals becoming judges in Connecticut state courts and generally explain the appointment and reappointment process. I have with me today two very respected members of the bar, managing partner of the Hartford office of McCarter English, Moy Ogilvie. Moy is also on the board of Lawyers for Collaborative for Diversity. She is on the Criminal Justice Commission, and she's incoming president in a couple of days of the Hartford County Bar Association. Leander Dolphin is here. She is a managing partner of the entire firm of Shipman Goodwin, and she's been chair of the Judicial Selection Commission for 3 years. So this segment is focusing on the process of becoming judges in state courts, which is different from how judges are appointed in federal courts. Federal courts involve the appointment by the President of the United States, and some of us may have seen over the years the process that entails. We're not going to talk about that. What we're going to talk about is what we know, which is the process for appointing and reappointing the different types of judges in Connecticut. Not all of them, but what we are going to talk about is judges of the Superior Court, judges of the Appellate Court, and judges of the Supreme Court. In some jurisdictions, the judges are elected, even at the appellate level. In Connecticut, that is not the case. In Connecticut, our state judges are appointed at every level. So we're going to talk to you about what that selection process entails, and we're going to start with Leander on that issue because you have been living this now for 3 years. Can you talk to us about what the Judicial Selection Commission does in arranging for the appointment of judges?
Sure. The Judicial Selection Commission is the starting point for applicants who are looking to be considered by the governor for appointment to the Superior Court. So all of those initial applications come to the Judicial Selection Commission. We also review all applications for reappointment for incumbent judges, and also all applications by incumbent judges looking to be elevated to another court. So for example, if you're a sitting Superior Court judge and you would like to be considered for an appointment to the Appellate Court or the Supreme Court, you would also come to the Judicial Selection Commission. We spend a lot of time interviewing candidates and seeking to identify qualified candidates for all of the courts and all of the elevations that come before us. It is a truly comprehensive process, seeking to identify candidates with the proper judicial temperament, with the proper expertise and skill to be considered for appointment by the governor.
Leander, you mentioned that it is incumbent judges who are considered for appellate level positions. Is there ever a time when it's not an incumbent judge?
It's a good question.
Practicing attorney?
Yes, sometimes. It is rare, but sometimes a candidate who is just a practicing attorney in our state can seek to be appointed for not just Superior Court, but immediately to the Appellate Court or the Supreme Court. And so their first application can be for all three, frankly. So we've seen that happen as well.
Now, there's a statute, is there not, that covers your responsibilities on the Judicial Selection Commission?
Yes, the commission is created by statute, actually by our Constitution, and the statute governs who the members are for the commission, how long our terms are, what our charge is, and how the process goes for all appointments. And so just to back up a little bit, the commission has 12 members, 6 who are attorneys and 6 who are, I'd say, I don't like using the term non-attorneys because that is no longer in vogue. So we go with individuals who are community members. And they are appointed by the governor, who appoints 6, 3 who are attorneys and 3 who are not. And the president of the Senate also gets to pick a commission member. The Speaker of the House selects a member. The minority leader of both the House and the Senate also gets to pick. So there's a total of 12 members who are appointed, and each of us serve 3-year terms.
Are they staggered?
They are. And so, every few months, I'd say, someone completes their term, and then the appointing authority replaces the commission member.
Moy, I'm going to go over to you for a moment. I heard Leander talk about qualifications are important. Could you talk to us a little bit about the qualifications that are needed to apply and potentially become a judge?
Of course. So, of course, you need to be a Connecticut resident, and you also need to be a member of the Connecticut Bar to be considered as a judicial candidate. And there are a lot of different criteria and things that are looked at, but some of the most important ones, of course, are your legal ability and your expertise as a lawyer, your reputation for honesty, integrity, truthfulness. Leander made reference to judicial temperament. It's trying to ascertain which candidates have the temperament to preside over a courtroom and to interact with members of the public from all walks of life. So, they're courteous, they're kind, they listen, they're thoughtful. Like, who has that kind of a temperament? Also, it's important to try and ascertain, which judge can they be fair and impartial? As attorneys, most of us who have been attorneys, we're used to being advocates for one side or the other, but as a judge, you're in a completely different role. Your role is to be impartial and neutral.
And to project that.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the kind of thing that is being evaluated by the commission as well, characteristics such as that. And there are other characteristics. A lot of times individuals want to know, is there a certain amount of length of practice before you can apply to be a judge? And there isn't. There really isn't. I think in general, you do see people who have practiced quite a while and have some legal expertise and have ability before they put their name in to get to be considered. But there's no hard requirement. Also, candidates come from all different backgrounds, because again, there are people who are litigators, there are people who are civil litigators, criminal litigators. You may have individuals from academia, from the law schools, who want to be considered as a candidate. So again, I think the commission tries to even be diverse in who they're seeing as candidates. There's no one type of ideal judicial candidate, and
a potential judge could even be in corporate world, right?
Absolutely, and that has happened in the past.
Yes,
absolutely.
One of my favorite judges was
Yes.
a corporate lawyer.
Yes, exactly.
So let's go back to you, Leander. Can you talk to us about the judicial selection process itself?
Sure. So a candidate, let's start with the initial appointment. So I've been practicing for a sufficient amount of time where I think I'd like to be considered to be a judge. There is an application that is posted on our website, the Judicial Selection Commission's website, and that application is, for lack of a better word, very, very, very long. It includes questions about your litigation experience, if you are a litigator, your non-litigation experience, if you have not been, if you're a corporate lawyer, for example. You are required to identify 6 references, and another 6 who are judges or folks who have seen you in practice. So a total of 12 references. You are required to answer some general questions about why you're interested, to provide background on the cases that you've experienced, to show your technical ability and your experience, of course, to provide a financial affidavit as well, going in terms of your taxes, in terms of we run a background check that includes a credit check. And in that, we're looking to again, as Moy mentioned, we're looking for candidates who really have a record of being a good citizen, of being good stewards of the law, and the way you live in terms of your character and how you're managing your business is part of that. So you submit your application, you identify your references, you are required to provide a fitness report from your physician as well.
Really?
Yeah. And then we receive
Physical or mental?
both. Both. And the criteria is that you need to be able to perform the duties of a judge with reasonable accommodation. So that could be physical or mental. So anyway, we ask lots of questions in the application process. Everyone who submits their application receives an interview. And so we schedule those. We meet about 10 times a year. So every month we are meeting to review candidates who are applying in the first instance. And we sit and interview every candidate. And that is, I know it's a highlight of my month when we are meeting these lawyers, some of whom we know from the bar, some of them we don't. As Moy mentioned, we are hoping for candidates across the state from various professional backgrounds and who are coming in at different stages of their careers. And we're looking to find out, why do you want to be a judge? And we're looking to explore the criteria that are all statutory, frankly, in the statute as to what the minimum qualifications are, as well as the general areas for exploration. At the end of our interview, the commission discusses the candidate and their application and votes on that same day about whether we believe that the candidate has demonstrated that to be qualified to be recommended to the governor. And then at that point, we inform the candidates as to where we are.
Now, there's a running list, is there not?
There is.
From which the governor can choose?
Yes, by statute, the governor can only recommend or appoint from the list, right? And on the list are, I'd say, hundreds of names of folks who have applied, who have passed through the Judicial Selection Commission. There is a list for the Superior Court, for the Appellate Court, and the Supreme Court as well.
And how does it come about that the governor will nominate candidates?
Yeah, so once we, let's say we're doing it this year, and we recommend someone, we inform the governor that someone has been recommended and that they're on the list. And the governor's office, when there is a vacancy, as there are now, I think there are 185 Superior Court positions. We are, I think, in my recent memory, the fewest vacancies that I've seen in a long time. I think we are about 10 to 15 currently. So the governor is I think, regularly looking to fill vacancies to make sure that we have an adequately staffed bench. And they do an additional background check, more vetting, interviews, I believe, with the governor's office and the governor, and then they make a decision as to whether they're going to recommend for appointment a candidate.
And Moy, what happens when the governor recommends a candidate?
Okay, I will tell you. One question I was going to ask was, how long does the candidate stay on the list?
That's a good question. Right now, there is no limit. Although I'd say, the recency seems to matter, right? Because the governor, the sitting governor, whoever he or she is usually looking at folks who have maybe just been added. Although sometimes I find that the governor will go back into a list. So I think there are people currently on the list, 10 years or more. You stay on the list until you've reached the age that you can no longer be appointed, which is 70. And so there are people on the list at all stages, and they can stay on for a number of years.
Do you have any, is there any consistency to how often the governor will look to the list and make nominations?
Yeah, as I said, it really is based on how many vacancies there might be, but all appointments, they are aligned with the legislative session. So there's always a regular session, so we tend to see appointments in the regular session, and occasionally, depending on vacancies, in the special session as well.
When you say special session, you're not referring to short versus long sessions, correct?
No, I'm talking about the second half of the year, perhaps, or there are usually other business that the legislature is convening for, and in those cases, I'd sometimes see the governor make some appointments as well. But usually they're at the start of the year in the regular session.
Thank you. So Moy, what happens now?
Yeah, so the nominations of the governor then goes to the General Assembly, and the General Assembly delegates to the Judiciary Committee the role of looking into these nominees and to hold public hearings on each candidate. So again, it's another third layer of process where the candidates are vetted by the Judiciary Committee, and again, asked questions about their qualifications for being their qualifications, their reasons for wanting to be a judge. I think the legislators are often very concerned about wanting candidates who want to be judges for the right reasons, not because of the title or the power. They don't want candidates who might get what we call robitis. You put the robe on and then all of a sudden you have air about you. So again, it's another third step in the process, and the Judiciary Committee holds those hearings, and after those hearings for each candidate, they will confirm the candidate for appointment in most instances.
And then does it go to the full House or Senate?
Yes.
Both, or
Yes.
just Senate?
Both.
Okay. Now, when someone is originally appointed, their term is for 8 years.
Yes.
You did mention, Leander, that you can't be appointed after the age of 70, but there are judges who continue on in a senior status.
Yes,
If they're sitting judges and they become 70.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, after the 8 years, what happens?
Well, before the 8 years, I'd
Okay.
say the candidate, if seeking reappointment, must come back to the commission to have their application examined. And that part of the process includes a report from the Judicial Review Council. That report tells us about any complaints that have been filed against the judge, the disposition of any such complaints. We receive a report from the Chief Court Administrator as well. If the candidate, if the judge has enough feedback in terms of the evaluations that go out after a trial, we also receive those evaluations. It must hit a certain threshold before we get those. So all of that information comes to us, and an application. That includes additional reference checking. We talk to references that include lawyers who have been in front of the judge in the last term, so that they are recent, and we do a lot of background checking at that time as well. The incumbent judge comes before us for an interview and a review of their full application. Timing-wise, that must be done in the 7th year, because judges who are up for reappointment, if they are not going to be recommended, they're entitled to a hearing, and we must have the hearing. Well, we must give notice to the judge, have the hearing, and have that completed 180 days before the reappointment is due. So we try to do that, give us enough time in the prior year to do that.
Where is that hearing held?
It's a public hearing, and it would be, well, it doesn't need to be a public
at the
hearing.
General Assembly?
No, I'm sorry, let me back up. That first hearing, if the commission is not going to recommend for reappointment to the governor, we have a hearing. It's not a public hearing unless the judge asks for it to be so.
I see.
And the burden, this is really, really key. When a sitting judge comes up for reappointment, there's a presumption that they will retain their seat. And the burden is on the commission to show that there is a reason why they should not be reappointed. So we take those evaluations very seriously, because going to a hearing means that we need to find evidence, present evidence, and the decisions of the commission are final. So, those are, we look into that, and I'd say rarely is there going to be a hearing. But if there is a recommendation to the governor, then there's no need for a hearing. If there's not, then there'd be a hearing.
So I have seen opportunities when the public can come before the General Assembly and make comment. How does that arise?
So after the Judicial Selection Commission recommends to the governor, then the governor makes the recommendation to the legislature. And that's where I'd say public comment is invited. Prior to that happening and at your judicial selection, we do post a notice on our website and in the Tribune and in the Journal, letting folks know, letting the general public know that a judge is coming up for reappointment and inviting public comment. That is often in the form of a letter and usually signed. I'd like to say that if we receive something that's anonymous, that's given less weight than if we were receiving something from someone who wants to provide input and doesn't sign their name.
How often do judges who are being potentially reappointed go before the General Assembly?
They must each time go
Every
before the
time.
general. Yes, each
Okay.
time. Yes.
All right. We're going to turn now to appellate and Supreme Court appointments. And Moy, I'd like you to explain for our audience how that works.
Yeah, so Leander touched on it a little bit, but and so do you. We have the three courts: Superior, Appellate, and Supreme Court. Majority of the judges who go through judicial selection are appointed to the Superior Court level. But we do also have the smaller courts, the Appellate Court and the Supreme Court, our Intermediate Court, and then the top court. And for judges, sitting judges, who wish to be considered for elevation to either the Appellate or the Supreme Court, they would again fill out an application and go through the vetting process that Leander described with the Judicial Selection Commission. So again, you can be a sitting Superior Court judge for years and years and years, and then decide at some point, you may want to try for elevation to the Appellate or Supreme Court. Also, another interesting thing about those two courts are you don't have to be a judge to apply, a sitting judge to apply. So someone who's been a practicing attorney for years and years, decades, may say, you know what, I want to put my hat in the ring and be considered for an appellate position or even a Supreme Court position. Those potential candidates, again, would fill out an application, be vetted through the Judicial Selection Commission in the same manner. So that's one interesting point about the Supreme and Appellate Court process. Although I would say that most do tend to come from the Superior Court.
Yes.
Every once in a while there's an exception, not an exception, every once in a while you have a candidate who's appointed who actually was not a sitting judge, but has obviously ample experience, a legal experience, the reputation, the qualifications, and all of that to be at one of the higher levels.
So this is an application to the commission again, correct?
Yes.
Then what happens at the commission level?
It's the same process.
And then the
right.
governor would have to nominate the candidate
From someone on that
to
list.
be elevated
Yes,
or
exactly.
brought into the appellate court.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the one thing I will also say about the Supreme Court is the Supreme Court, there's a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the governor will nominate the candidate that he or she wishes to have as the Chief Justice. So that's a specific nomination made by the governor, and obviously vetted. That person would be vetted for this particular role.
Vetted by the commission again?
Yeah, so often a sitting judge will apply for one of four, right? The Superior Court, the Appellate Court, the Supreme Court, and if interested in being considered for the Chief Justice role, they will also apply for that role. And the governor will select off of those lists. I think there is a minor carve out for the Chief Justice that if there is a vacancy at the Chief Justice role, the governor can pick of the associate justices to fill the term, and then may either reappoint that person to a full term or a new term, or pick from the list of candidates.
How long are appellate terms? And when I say appellate, I'm referring to appellate with a small a, which includes the Supreme Court.
So the terms are 8 years.
Yeah. Also,
Yes.
okay.
Just like Superior Court.
All right. So I think we've covered our content And I'm going to give either of you the opportunity to say I forgot to ask you about something, but
No, I think we
have.
did too. I think our idea was to let individuals understand how you become a judge in Connecticut. To some, it's a little bit of a mystery, or they're not really sure, but hopefully we've shown that it's a really thorough process and numerous stages, and our judges are vetted very
extensively.
very extensively,
Right.
and I think that's why we think we have the best judges, in the country.
I watched the first session that was aired, and it talks about the independence of the judiciary and the fact that the judiciary is to uphold the rule of law. And all of the participants in that session said that we're very lucky, we're very proud of our judges, and there really does not ever seem to be a biased opinion or a biased judge. So I think we've been doing a really good job on
Yeah.
that temperament and character part.
It's been very affirming to sit on the commission because the candidates who come before us are genuinely interested. And talking to members of the bar who are helping us assess each candidate at each stage, those people, those lawyers are very engaged in making sure that we have a free and independent judiciary that is interested in giving us good results, that gets the confidence of the public. It has been really an affirming 3 years. I enjoy that.
Well, thank you for your service. I know it's
my
a
pleasure.
big job.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
We hope that this has been an informative session. We hope that our audience will see our past presentations and will look forward to our future. As a point of information, there is a website for the Judicial Selection Commission. It's going to be printed out, just in case I say it in a way that doesn't make sense. It's www.portal.ct.gov/JSC. Thank you. Thank you, ladies, for your time. And we look forward to more and more of these in honor of our 150th anniversary and the continued education of the public. Thank you.